you. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I love this country. I want to fight for this country, and I know you do as well. One of the biggest issues that's out there is obviously about immigration. So I am really pleased to have two of the foremost experts on immigration and what's happening here. So I'm going to introduce Mark Morgan, current visiting fellow at Heritage's Border Security and Immigration Center and served as acting Commissioner of the United States Customs and Border Protection in the Trump administration. We also have Tom Homan. He was the former acting director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and currently a visiting fellow at Heritage Border Security and Immigration Center. So thanks so much for joining us. We're going to have a good discussion about what's going on, what's not going on. We're going to assume that you understand that securing our border is a problem. I don't think that's a hard sell with this audience and this understanding. We'll certainly get into and describe some statistics and numbers that are truly shocking by any metric. But we really want to talk about solutions and moving forward and what we should be doing. And that's the discussion that we want to have here today. And these two gentlemen have poured their hearts and souls and careers into making these things happen. And so we're just thrilled to have them and their service. And you'll see their love of country and their passion for this issue. They dedicated their lives to it, and I think it's going to be a vibrant discussion. So with that, you know, one of the things that I look at and I keep arguing for, and Tom, maybe we can start with you, but it just seems to me, why don't we start with enforcing the current law? Because right now, we're not enforcing the current law.
No, you're exactly right, and that would fix a lot of the problem, right? Because the law is clear. When you enter the country illegally without proper documentation, you shall be detained. That's what it says. Not maybe, not think about it. Maybe you should just, take our asylum claims and throw them in the country. None of that. If they would enforce the current law and the catch and release and actually enforce immigration law, let the Border Patrol do their national security job, a lot of this problem would be solved. This is not a resource issue. It is not a legal issue. It's a policy issue. This administration chooses not only to ignore the law, but they're actively violating the law on the misuse of parole policy.
You know, if I can footstep on this, actually I steal Tom's line all the time, because Tom and I were there under President Trump. We had the most secure border in our nation's history under President Trump. And to Tom's point, a policy issue. President Biden came in within the first few days, issued over 94 executive orders that dismantled, destroyed, and disrupted the network of tools, authorities, and policies that President Trump gave us to achieve the most secure border. Our current president right now intentionally unsecured the border. That's why we're here right now.
And let me, you knew this was going to happen. We can't shut up. But, I go across the country speaking, and people always walk up to me, Tom, why are you always pissed off? Because I'm pissed off. Because Mark said it right. I started in Border Patrol in 1984. I spent 34 years on the border issues. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan up to Donald Trump. Every president I worked for, even Clinton, Obama, took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't possibly have national security if you don't have border security. We need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, why it's coming in, where it's coming in. President Biden's the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured a border on purpose. That has resulted in historic illegal immigration, historic drug flow, historic sex trafficking of women and children, historic number of people off the terrorist watch list crossing the border. And they want to attack the Trump administration. Homan, Trump, you're racist, you're inhumane. Really? Well, let's look at the data. Under Trump, 4 years, 13 people on the terrorist watch list. Biden, 3.5, 376. Women and children, sex trafficking up 600%. We got 140,000 dead Americans of fentanyl. This administration is not only killing Americans at record numbers from the fentanyl smuggling, they've killed illegal aliens at record numbers. We're already over 2,200 illegal aliens dying crossing this border. So when Trump had illegal immigration down 83 to 90%, when 90% less people were coming, How many women weren't being raped by the cartels? How many children didn't die in the river? How many no-suspect terrorists didn't get into the country because the border's secure? How many Americans weren't dying? How many billions of dollars cartels not make? President Trump's policies saved lives. He was one badass president that did the right thing for this country, and I can't wait for him to get back.
Yeah. Look, Tom and I served the same time, six presidents, both Republican and Democrat. I too, every single day, and I'm already feeling myself getting fired up and pissed off right now because look, just mention a couple of names. Laken Riley, say her name, right? Was killed by an illegal alien. Her life was taken away. Say Rachel Morin, say her name. A mother of 5, 37 years old, that was savagely raped and killed by an illegal alien. I could go on. We could spend the next hour talking about the Americans that have died at the hands of individuals. And we actually have Democrats on Capitol Hill that want to talk about, well, Americans kill people too. Are you kidding me? That's the litmus test? How about this? An illegal alien, the reason why it's so different is because it shouldn't happen, because they shouldn't be here, right? But this administration intentionally unsecured the border. And Secretary Mayorkas, how do we know he's lying? When his lips are moving. He knows every single day, because of these open border policies, that Border Patrol agents are pulled off the front line, away from their law enforcement and national security mission. They're relegated to be a federal travel agency. We're literally handing operational control over to the cartels every single day, so that criminals, murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and gang members are pouring into this country. Drugs are pouring into this country. As Tom said, last year, 108,000 Americans died from drug overdose and poisoning. Put that in perspective, that's more Americans than died from all the terrorist attack in our nation's history, the Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam wars combined. When is enough enough?
Tom, we got a lot of people in this country that came here illegally that need to be deported. When I was on the Judiciary Committee, on the Immigration Subcommittee. I asked to be on that because I really wanted to dive into it. Democrats will say, oh, we care about this, we need to do legislation. The only way to solve this is we got to have a legislative fix. Well, when Zoe Lofgren in the House of Representatives was the chairwoman of the Subcommittee on Immigration, of which I was there, guess how many hearings they had? How many things that they did on this? 2. One was for a class photo, and the other was literally, this is actually what happened. The person that came and testified about immigration was Stephen Colbert. They literally brought Stephen Colbert into no other hearings, no proposed legislation. And remember, the Biden-Harris administration, with Kamala Harris being the border czar, they had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They had all 3 levers of power. Did they introduce legislation? You know, you hear Joe Biden now, you hear the president talk about, since day one, I've been pushing this immigration. Why didn't they move that bill? Why didn't they actually do it? It's because what these gentlemen are telling you is true, which is they wanted an open border. But now we have a lot of nefarious people here. Don't think that these are all just, oh, the woman just wants to, clean houses and work at Taco Bell. That's what you hear. And you hear Jerry Nadler literally say, we got to be able to pick the fruit in this country. But the people that are here illegally, that nefariously didn't go through the border, explain the policy, because if you want to claim asylum, you're supposed to be able to come through the port of entry. But now, Tom, that we have these people that are here committing crimes, explain to them how bad the situation is, because you have these sanctuary states, sanctuary cities. In New York, for instance, I keep complaining about this. Look, they're moaning and groaning in Boston and New York and in other places in Minnesota saying, oh, we don't have the resources. We got all these people. And Ron DeSantis sent people to Nantucket, for goodness sake. How bad is that? And thank goodness for Governor Abbott actually dispersing people out to, where they actually want to go, and they're going to go anyway. But guess what? Now they're claiming they need all these resources. But they have not taken down their sanctuary city status, their sanctuary state status, and consequently, they're not communicating and working with ICE, even on the most nefarious, worst criminals that are out there.
You're exactly right. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. The last 8 terrorists that were just arrested, 8 people that were planning a terrorist attack, along with all these murders Mark just mentioned, what's the common denominator? Every one of them is sanctuary city. New York, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. But I want to talk about something, because I made a comment about this the other day, and the left went crazy. I got all these inputs. Do you want to explain the statement you make? And here's the statement I made, and I'll make it to you here today. So the media in the room, you can double down on it. They said, you know, my wife come running downstairs several years ago and says, look at the hit piece Washington posted on you. And it was a story, and the first line of the story says, Tom Homan deports people, and he's really good at it. My wife said, look at this hit piece. I carved it out and it's hanging on my wall right now in my office. That's a badge of honor, because I did my job. So last week I made a statement. You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till 2025. So I said it, I meant it, you can go ahead and print it. But what I really want to do, we have to, look, people say, well, Trump's threatening this historic deportation operation. He's going to build concentration camps. He's going to sweep neighborhoods. Let me be clear. None of that will happen. We are going to have an historic deportation operation, because you got an historic illegal immigration crossing the southern border. If you look at immigration court data, 9 out of 10, nearly 9 out of 10 of these people won't get asylum because they don't qualify. So they're going to be ordered removed. They'll get a federal order saying you must leave. What is the option? We have to execute those orders, or you know what? Just shut down the immigration court. Take the border off the border. Take the border patrol off the border. What the hell are we doing? So when they get due process at billions of dollars of taxpayers' money, and a federal judge says you must go home, the Trump administration is going to make them go home. And it's going to require an historic deportation operation. We're not going to sweep neighborhoods. You know, we're not building concentration camps. Every person that ICE arrests, when I was the ICE director, 91% of everybody arrested was a convicted criminal, pending criminal charges, or a fugitive. Bottom line is, under President Trump, he's still going to prioritize national security threats and criminals, but no one's off the table. If you're in the country illegally, it's not okay. If you're in the country illegally, you better be looking over your shoulder, because it's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime to enter the country illegally. And I'll say this, I'm sick and tired of people saying illegal aliens commit less crimes than U.S. citizens. That Cato study has more flaws than if you read it. First, they combine illegal aliens with legal aliens. Most illegal aliens come to this country are pretty law-abiding, first of all. But the bottom line is, every illegal alien is a criminal. They enter the country in violation of federal law. It's a crime to enter this country illegally. So the #1 crime right there, right? So as far as Kamala Harris is concerned, I'll show her how to be a border czar. Looking forward to it.
Well, look, and to foot stomp on that, so here's what's important. We have to take back the narrative, because the narrative is that what's happening at our border is about immigration. That's a lie. It's a lie. It's not about immigration. What's happening at our border is about border security, which our ability to secure and defend and protect our borders is degraded by illegal immigration. Illegal immigration and immigration are not the same thing. If you and I go to a grocery store and we go shopping and you fill your cart full of groceries and you go out to the checkout stand and pay and go to the parking lot, I go into that same grocery store and I fill my cart full of groceries, but I go past the checkout line, I don't pay, and I meet you in a grocery store and somebody asks us what we did, we both say we went grocery shopping. No, you did. I committed a crime, right? And here's what's important. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. Every single illegal alien means that's one more resource, again, that's pulled off their law enforcement, away from their national security mission. We hand operational control back to the cartels. With respect to drugs, I'm so sick and tired of the BS lie that illegal aliens commit less crime than Americans. First of all, that's just a stupid litmus test, right? So because one demographic supposedly commits less crime, somehow it's not an issue? That's just stupid. Right? But here's why it's false. Let me give you just a couple of stats. The first 3 years of this administration, ICE arrested 163,000 criminal illegal aliens in this country, including 4,700 murderers and 8,000 gang members. Texas, DPS alone, from 2011 to 2024, arrested over 300,000 criminal illegal aliens and charged them with over 500,000 crimes, including over 1,000 homicides, 1,400 kidnappings, and 60,000 assaults. In the first 3 years of this administration, Border Patrol has apprehended over 48,000 criminal illegal aliens, including murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and gang members from 180 different countries. To put that in perspective, that's a 99% increase from FY17 to FY20 combined. So don't tell me that this is a one-off. Don't tell me that Lake and Riley murder or Rachel Morin's murder is a one-off, because it's not. It's a lie. And on the terrorism front, it's not a matter of if or when the terrorist threat comes to our country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's already here. And so part of the largest deportation effort that we need to do, here's why we need to do it. Because we need to send a strong message to the entire world that Tom said, one, it's not okay to illegally enter this country, which jeopardizes our nation's safety and national security. But if somehow you get past our frontline defenses, you're not going to stay. We're going to find you. That's going to send a strong deterrence message. And history has shown when we have strong border security on the physical border, backed up right with effective policy to remove people, illegal immigration will go down. Once that happens, our border will be secure, I promise you.
Mark, I want to come back to you, because one of the things I saw when I was on the Judiciary Committee is that pretty quickly into the Obama administration, they started to redefine their interpretation of what asylum is. Maybe you can walk us through what true asylum is and how it has morphed into pretty much anything that the first Obama administration and now the Biden administration wants it to be.
It's a great question. So we're talking about solutions right now, and listen to you. Look, I'm not trying to blow smoke your way, but one of the solutions is we need him back, right? I know this man. I'm serious. I know this man. We both know him, and he was on the right side of the entire time he was there. He was one of the few people that spoke with honesty and clarity and common sense. Look, I'm critical on both sides of the aisle. Remember, even under the Trump administration, the Republicans had the House and the Senate for the 2 years, and not a single piece of meaningful border security legislation got passed. So there is plenty of blame to go around. There's plenty of rhinos there. This man was not one of them. But asylum, here's something we just completely forget about. Here's lawful asylum. You're fleeing persecution because of your involvement in a protected class. That's it. Right now, as Tom said, we know that over 90% of those that are coming to our country, especially those that are illegally entering, do not qualify for asylum. This administration knows it, Secretary Mayorkas knows it, but every single day he's still releasing people in this country in defiance of the law when he knows that over 90% of them do not qualify for asylum, and after the release in the United States, very few are actually removed. And so it's a big lie on top of a big lie. And we go back, what's the solution, Jason? It's what you started. Let's just enforce the law. But this administration, this is why Secretary Mayorkas was impeached. This man, as well as this administration, they look at congressional laws that have been passed as a mere advisory opinion. It's unbelievable. The founding principles of our Constitution, but separate but co-equal branches of a government, is irrelevant to them. The Secretary Mayorkas, we don't have enough time to go through all the laws that he continues to violate every single day, and enforcing an asylum is just one of those.
You know, one of the criticisms, Tom, is, oh, you're being so mean. You're being just, you're not being nice enough. But it is absolutely stunning to me that we have, by the tens of thousands, if not more, unaccompanied minors that are being exploited. They're being brought through. We don't know where they are. We don't know whose hands they're in. And these are minors. We're talking like 12-year-old girls. Explain to us the problem, and then, more importantly, what's the solution to this?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm hated by a big part of this country, and frankly, I don't give a shit. Because
now, for the record, I was betting that Mark was going to swear before Tom, so
I almost did.
I lost that bet, but continue on.
No, I just don't. I just don't, because if they wore my shoes for 34 years, they would understand me, and a lot of them would agree with me. Look, I've told a story many times, when we get to children. I know what it's like to get on my knees and talk to a 9-year-old little girl who had everything innocent and stolen from her, because she's gang raped by these cartel members. I've talked to numerous young ladies, as young as 9, who lived a nightmare because that was part of the fee for coming across this border. While I'm talking to you right now, let's put politics aside for a minute. While I'm talking to you right now, women are being raped by members of the cartel to cross this border. Not once, numerous times. A child will die today on the border. Women and children are going to be smuggled in this country and forced into sex trafficking. We already found a bunch of kids working in a meat packing plant, cleaning up entrails at midnight shift, not getting paid a dime because they were trafficked. We got 100,000 missing children. Now, people want to attack myself, President Trump, over family separation. Let me be clear on this. It was zero tolerance.
Amen.
The reason it was done is to try to save some lives. Maybe less women get raped. Maybe less children will die crossing this border if we prosecute those for entering the country illegally, which is a crime, prosecute them, and maybe it will slow down. Maybe less children get raped. Maybe less people die if there's a consequence. It wasn't about separation. It wasn't about punishing anybody. It's about saving lives. But the left just turned around to this family separation, ripping a baby out of a mother's arms. Let me tell you something. Law enforcement across this country does it thousands of times a day. And when I was in COP, I separated families many times in New York. It's sad. You don't want to do it. When you arrest a parent and lock them up, the kid can't go with them. That was the whole purpose, to save lives, less death. But they want to keep pointing to that. In the meantime, over 400,000 children have been smuggled in this country in the hands of criminal cartels. Self-separated from their families, put in the hands of criminal cartels. I just told you what a lot of these children go through. And this government, Secretary Becerra of HHS, he was bragging 2 months ago, I watched him, bragging how quick they release these children from custody. No kidding. The vetting is a fraction of what the Trump administration did. We did DNA testing. They're releasing kids and now they can't find 100,000 of them? Let me tell you, based on my 34 years investigating this type of crime, many of these children are living with pedophiles. Many of these children are going to show up pornographic movies. Many of these children are forced labor. Do not tell me that this administration's policies is humane. I said it before. They're killing Americans at record numbers. They're killing migrants at record numbers. And they're causing a sex trade of children that are undeniable. Anybody can look at the data. When you wear my shoes, you stand back with a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at your feet, including a 5-year-old little boy who baked to death. Every one of them in their underwear because they're trying to get some relief from the heat. I was there. I smelled it. I tasted it. It changed me forever because these people suffered a terrible, horrific death. When Trump had immigration down 90%, less of this stuff was happening. And why am I pissed? Because this administration came in and unsecured a border. Deaths are skyrocketing. Rapes are skyrocketing. And we shouldn't be okay with that. So come at me all you want. Hate me all you want. I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. I love this country. I think President Trump's the greatest president I ever worked for. And I can't wait for him to work for him again because he will secure this border.
Mark, Look, I got to foot stomp a couple of things here. Every single time I've heard Tom speak about those experiences, and every single time I still get chills, and then I get angry and I get pissed off. My challenge to the liberal media back there, how many times have you mentioned under this presidency the 2,000 dead migrants that CBP has recovered? How many times? The number's zero. Zero. And that doesn't include the deaths in Mexico. That doesn't include the deaths in the Darien Gap, one of the most inhospitable places on the face of the planet. We know that Doctors Without Borders said up to 30% of young women and children are sexually assaulted or raped on the journey up here. I, too, have talked to countless Border Patrol agents and other law enforcement professionals on the border who tell me that they've interviewed a 12-year-old girl who who encountered that she was raped multiple times, or a 10-year-old who they were going through her backpack and pills fell down on the ground. And they said, "What is this?" It's a morning after pill. "Where'd you get those?" "My mother gave them to me because she was expecting that I was going to be raped." How many times have you heard the liberal media talk about that truth? The answer is zero. And that's why you get frustrated. Tom is absolutely right. There's no safe, orderly, and humane illegal immigration process. That's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. But that's what this secretary and that's what this administration tries to get this country to believe. And it's all a lie. But we never hear about that. We never hear about, how many times have we heard about a fentanyl overdose? Remember about a year and a half ago when the cadets from West Point went down to Florida and they took some cocaine? That was a mistake, but unbeknownst to them, it was laced with fentanyl, and a couple of them died. I read about a dozen reports of that. You know, all but one never even mentioned that the fentanyl comes from the southwest border. We have illegal aliens that are apprehended inside the country that commit heinous acts against America, and we have law enforcement agencies in sanctuary cities that refuse to tell you that the crime was committed by an illegal alien. And the liberal media is complicit in that, and I believe they hide that information from the American people to cover for this administration with respect to the magnitude of the chaos and lawlessness on our border that jeopardizes every aspect of our nation's economic, safety, and national security.
Tom, I want to talk about the border itself, the idea of a border wall, and the idea that Remain in Mexico, it's miraculous, I thought, that President Trump negotiated and pulled that off, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Give us your perspective on how to actually secure the border itself.
You want to secure the border? Re-implement everyone Trump's policies. You do it in a week. The wall. I'll let Mark talk about the wall. I'll pass over him in a minute. The wall works. Every place they built a border barrier, illegal immigration went down, illegal drug flow went down, and guess what? Walls save lives. Because the people I'm talking about, most vulnerable, the women and children, they're not getting over that wall. They're going to go to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting for them? The 20,000 American patriots wearing that green uniform who will take care of the humanitarian and medical needs. These are, let me touch this, 20,000 men wearing that uniform, men and women wearing that Border Patrol uniform are national heroes who are slandered by the Secretary of Homeland Security and the President of the United States at the White House podium for whipping black migrants. I watched that video. It took me a minute to figure out they didn't do anything wrong. They did exactly as they were trained. The horses did exactly as they were trained. The only body who did anything wrong that day were the Haitian migrants who came across the country illegally, which is a crime, ignored a federal order to take action, which is a felony, and no one talked about that. These men, to this day, Jason, their careers aren't the same. Their families and children were bullied in churches and schools, that your fathers are racist, and not, to this day, no apologies, and these men still aren't 100% back to duty yet. I got off the subject, Matt, but I just want to bring that up.
This is an important part because it was actually the Heritage Foundation, the Oversight Project, that pushed to get the Freedom of Information Act and expose the idea that Secretary Mayorkas knew that this wasn't true even before he commented publicly on it, and what they put those Border Patrol agents through.
It was incredible. I wore that uniform. It's the proudest days of my life wearing that green uniform.
All right, let's get Mark. We're running out of time here.
Remain in Mexico real quick, though.
Okay.
Remain in Mexico is a game changer. People can still claim asylum, but they're going to wait in Mexico. Hey, if you win asylum, welcome to the United States. If you don't, we have to go look for it. We have to remove you, because we know 9 out of 10 will get order removal. And the DHS Secretary's report, the life cycle report, says only 6% leave when they get order removed if they're not in custody. So it's a game changer. It worked. These policies work again. Mark, I want you to talk about the wall because you built 465 miles of wall.
Yeah, Tom, I know we got to be quick here. So the wall, I want to mention a couple of things. This shows the hypocrisy, right? So to be clear, and again, a lot of liberal media, you're never going to hear this from them. But we actually started building the wall under the Clinton administration. Did you know that? Yeah, it just sucked. But we were building infrastructure. It was then that we actually started, the Border Patrol all on their own started to develop, and this is back in the early 90s, the multi-layer strategy of infrastructure, technology, and personnel. And everywhere where we applied that multi-layer strategy in the border, every single measure of success increased. After 9/11, the 2000 Secure Fence Act came. which actually codified that multi-layer strategy, again, of infrastructure, technology, and personnel. And we had 85% of senators vote for the 2000 Secure Fence Act, including then Senators Biden, Clinton, Obama, Schumer, the list goes on. And part of that mandate was, wait for it, to build 634 miles of wall in the 2000 Secure Fence Act. How many times do you hear about that anymore? In fact, the first 2 years of the Obama administration, we built 134 miles of wall. And now President Trump comes along, and all of a sudden it's immoral, ineffective, and racist, right? It's a big lie. You've been lied to intentionally for the past 3.5 years. It's a big scam. It's a big lie to villainize Trump and to actually further their agenda. But what we did, what Trump gave us, as Tom mentioned, he gave us those tools. And it wasn't just a wall, it was a wall system. It wasn't just steel and concrete in the ground, but it was integrated technology. We had state-of-the-art technology, access roads, lighting, the list goes on and on. But we didn't have, the Border Patrol agents didn't have to choose, because we weren't just giving them infrastructure, we were giving them technology as personnel as well. And every single mile where we had that strategy, the border was secure.
We have just 5 minutes left. The backlog that is now facing, I mean, now that there's so many people here, that one of the things I was deeply concerned about is these administrative courts where the adjudication process happens. I was on the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives. I wanted to go watch one of these cases. They wouldn't allow me to go. I said, you want me to work to reauthorize these courts and to fund these courts? You won't even let me see it? They're not available for you as the American people to look at it. And that is so counter to how the American system should be. If you're going to court, you should be able to watch that and be able to see that and go watch it yourself. But now that we have, I don't know how many people in the backlog, there are people that are getting court dates that are 9 years out.
Yeah, that was part of their plan. That's a part of their plan. They want to overwhelm the system to put court hearings back 7, 8 years, knowing 90% will lose, get order removal. But by then, they got 2 USC kids. They own a home. They have equities. That even when I was at ICE director, I had Republican senators call me and say, why'd you remove that guy with 2 USC kids? Well, he didn't have 2 USC kids and enter the country legally. He didn't have 2 USC kids and got order removed because he successfully hid out long enough. Now he's immune. The court order doesn't mean anything? No. Under next administration, all that garbage is going to change. First of all, there needs to be an immigration officer in every immigration court. So when he's ordered removed, put the cuffs on and remove him. Don't wait and don't release them. You got to take custody of them. But that is their plan, and we just saw it. Now they're going to give parole in place to 500,000 people that have been here for more than 10 years. That is their plan. Overwhelm the system. Let them build equities, have U.S. citizen children, then all of a sudden I even get pushed back from the Republican side of the House on deporting people. Let me be clear on this. Mark said it, and I'm going to double down on it. This isn't just a Democrat problem. We have some Republican congressmen, and I said it on TV not too long ago. For every Republican congressman who didn't vote to impeach Mayorkas, he shouldn't be there. They all be gone. So we got to take control of the immigration courts. We need a strong president, and I know who the strong president is President Trump. There was countries who wouldn't take their people back, and they're having that problem right now with China. President Trump didn't take that. I sat in the Oval Office while he called presidents of these countries and said, you're going to take them back, or I'm going to pull every dollar of international aid away from you. And guess what? Within 48 hours, we have plane loads going to those countries. President Trump thought out of the box. He said, Tom, how do we deal with these incalcitrant countries, and how do we deal with this? I said, well, every administration sends billions of dollars down there to create opportunity zones so these people don't have to leave. Well, how's that worked out? It doesn't work, because these countries are corrupt, never gets to where it needs to go, and the people want to come to the greatest nation on earth. He goes, okay, well, I'm not going to give him a dollar. I'm going to start taking money away. When he started taking money away, you got the Remain in Mexico program, military northern southern border. You got the third safe country agreements. President Trump, he put America first, and he called these countries and said, you're going to do this for not only your own good, but the good of this nation, or I'm going to penalize you. And it works. We need a strong president with a backbone that's going to do that.
And you know, so talk about strength, right? Forever, the most iconic picture, I think, is going to go down in history of this country. After President Trump was shot in the head, what does he do? Fist bump and says, fight, 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 right? That's the strength of the man that Tom and Jason know. That's the strength of the man we know. And I'll give you an example. So the Remain in Mexico program that Jason mentioned, one of the most successful policies, it reduced illegal immigration by 85%. You know how we got that done? President Trump sent out a tweet, right? They said, Mexico, you're going to support this, or I'm going to come down with tariffs, and I'm going to destroy your GDP. Shocker, the next night, the president said, I'm all in. That's the strength we need from the President of the United States.
And I know we got a minute. I want to share this with you. When you get home tonight, I want you to think about what I said. People are dying every day on that border. Women and children are getting sexually assaulted on that border every day. People, this isn't a political issue. This would be a non-bipartisan. Every Republican, Democrat, Independent should be for border security. And I say this all the time. What's the downside on a secure border? What's the downside on less drugs? What's the downside on less terrorism? What's the downside on less sex trafficking? There's no downside. Everybody should want to secure this border. And we're going to have a president in January of 2025 who's going to do just that.
This portion of the program is, and I just want to leave you one thought. The people that we're failing are the people that are trying to come here legally and lawfully. The people who are willing to do it the right way. They're coming in line. You know what? They get bypassed. They are the ones that we're failing. And if you come here legally and lawfully, you can be welcomed into this country. There is a uniform rule. There is a uniform way to actually go through the process. And so don't think for a moment that Republicans or the right or whatever is anti-immigration. It's what Mark said earlier. There's a legal path and there's an illegal path. And what we stand for, what I personally believe, I should say, is that you've got to do it legally and lawfully. And if you're doing something illegally and you're getting every metric going the wrong direction, you have to change that. So thank you so much. Tom Homan, Mark Morgan. Thank you. Thanks.
Same way?
Thanks, guys. Yep.